Welcome to the Fold Mysteries, where we seek to discover everything that lies between the folds of reality. Welcome again this week. So we're excited to have everyone joining us. Make sure you jump in the chat, say hi, and we will post your comments as they come along. In the meantime, we'll give you a quick update of what's going on with us. So Abe, elusive one, why don't you start with you?
Last weekend I had a wedding, and then after that, about a 2-hour drive to. I shouldn't even say that. It felt like a 2-hour drive, but it was a long drive to one of our. It was the research area where we took animal planets, finding Bigfoot, and where we were getting wood knocks coming out of the cedar swamp. So me and Littlefoot, we spent the night out there. Not a whole lot happened. It was pretty quiet around that area. It's been really kind of quiet around that area, come to think about it. Other than that, hoping to get back out here again this weekend, a little bit more time in the field because we only really got to spend one night out there, which was Saturday night. But I'll be at Pops's place this weekend. And besides that, there's a local county fair going on in northern Minnesota. So I'm going to be meeting up with team member Joel Sturgis, also speaker of the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference, along with Gwendolyn Guthrie. You guys don't know who they are, come to the MPC and you'll find it real fast. Stickers are on sale now at eventbrite.com. And doing little public relations out there, promoting the team and the conference as well, and trying to get the word out. So that's what we have going on this weekend. But somebody had something happen. I'm chomping at the bit to find out.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so last weekend, me and my son went all-night fishing. It was really wild, actually, because we went there to do all-night fishing and had no intentions of having any kind of Bigfoot experience. But I decided I was going to show my son's fiance what it was like to hear a Bigfoot howl. And I asked her, and my son was like, "No, don't do it. That's silly." And she was like, "Yeah, I want to hear it." So I did it, and I did the Ohio Bigfoot howl. And she kind of was like, "That's cool, I guess." But it was probably about a half hour later, we had a rock thrown at us. And I didn't even put two and two together because I'm out there to fish. I'm not paying attention to anything else. And I was like, "What was that?" And she said, "It sounds like a rock got thrown." She knows nothing about Bigfoot. So I'm like, Bigfoot's known for kind of throwing rocks. And she was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "So what do you guys think? Are you guys nervous?" And she goes, "No, I don't believe in that kind of stuff." My son's like, "It better not happen again." Well, next thing you know, my son, he doesn't want to pretend like he believes in that kind of stuff, but he actually does. And so next thing you know, we get another rock thrown. And we're sitting on a rocky edge, and there's like probably 3 foot of rock behind us, but we're sitting about 4 foot away from this rock. And she's like, I think it's the rock settling behind us. And I said, "So the rock settling is throwing rocks at you 4 foot away?" And she goes, "It has to be." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And then we get a bigger rock thrown at us. And I'm like, "Okay, that's weird." So I'm like, "Okay." And Gage is my son. He's getting nervous at this point. He goes, "I'm about ready to reel in and be done for the night." He goes, "You guys are freaking me out." And I'm like, "Okay, listen, Bigfoot." Now I'm not sure if they, understand or believe or hear what we say, but I'm like, "Bigfoot, I'm not here to I'm sorry I did a howl, whatever. I'm like, we're just here to chill. We just want to fish." And so we're sitting there for a little bit longer, and then next thing you know, we hear this huge rock, and you can hear it come through the trees, breaking branches, and then it goes away for a minute, and then back down into the tree line again. So we know it comes up out of the tree line and back down again, and it slams right near us. And I'm like, I look at my son's fiance, I'm like, "Okay, was that big enough for you to believe?" And she goes, Okay, that was kind of big. So I'm looking around, looking for rocks that have displaced, and we're kind of on a watery area, so you can tell the difference between rocks that have been already sitting there and rocks that haven't. And there's this big rock that has no water on it at all, and I'm like, I think that was the rock. And she goes, no, that's too big. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure. I said, listen, I took video of before and I took video of after. I'm pretty sure that was the rock. And so I'm like, okay, I have to pee. So I'm not going into the tree line. I'm going to walk along the rock edge and I'm going to pee, but you guys have to turn around. So I went along the rock edge, and as I'm walking back, this big rock smacks between where I am and where they are. And I'm like, exactly. Mic drop. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that was weird. And at this point, my son's fiance, she's like, okay, that it's getting a little weird. And my son, every time we hear a rocket thrown, he's reeling in. And my son's fiance has to keep convincing them that it's okay, and then he casts back out again. And so she's sitting there, we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden she goes, okay, we'll leave as soon as we hear another big rock. Well, we hear another big rock, and we can hear it come through the trees again, and it smacks. And I'm like, are you done now? I said, are you ready to leave? And she goes, yeah, let's go ahead and go.
Oh my gosh.
She's trying to pretend brave and everything else. And so she's like, I gotta pee though. She's like, I don't want to go into the tree line. Where'd you go? And I'm like, okay, Miss Brave. I walked right down that way. We'll walk away. And so we're standing there with our backs, and she's walked all the way down, and she's going pee. And as she's walking back, I'm like, okay, are you decent? She says, yeah. And right when I turned around, this big rock gets thrown between where she is and where we are.
Oh man.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So we're packing up, we're cleaning up, we're picking up all of our trash and all of our equipment. And so my son, he's like so ready to go. He's like, I'm done. Screw all this. Let's get out of here.
Did he do a little man scream?
No. No, not at this point. Okay. So we decide we're going to pack up, we're going to leave. And right as we're getting ready to leave, we're walking up the trail. We're pretty far away from any kind of road. So we're walking up the trail, and maybe like 45 seconds into the trail, this big rock gets thrown right next to us. I mean, it breaks a couple tree branches on the way down. And he's like lagging behind. He's like, go, 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 because he's the last in line.
Wow.
So we start speeding up our walk. And at this point, we're almost all the way out. And he's, we're all kind of chill at that point. We've been walking for a little while. Nothing's happened. And as soon as we clear the tree line, another big rock comes crashing through the trees behind us where the tree line is.
Is it rock number 8 now that's been thrown?
I mean, honestly, probably about 10 to 11 rocks have been getting thrown at this point. Another big rock gets thrown. We hear it crashing through the trees. I mean, these are like rocks like this big.
Mm.
And so we hear it, go, bam. And he goes, go, go, go. And he's like running towards the car. And at this point, you can do the man scream. There you go. He's done. He runs away so fast, he actually drops his phone. And we didn't realize he dropped it. And we get up to the car, and we realize his phone's missing. So we find it. We're calling it had been dropped out in the open part where we heard the big rock, the last rock get thrown. And he's sitting, and I bought a couple bags of chips, and he's eating a couple bags of chips, and he's standing at my car, and we drove 2 different cars. And I said, just take it to the car with you. I'll come back to my house to get it when we get back to the house. He goes, no, if I do, I'll eat them all. So he's chowing down on chips as he's talking to me. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting with the other side of the foliage on the other side of the road next to me we hear a pebble and it smacks my car window. And I look at him and I'm like, that was a pebble. And he goes, stop. He's like mid chip bite. And he's like, stop.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, totally. That was totally a rock. And then another one comes and hits the top of my car. And I was like, okay, it's time to go.
Oh my
So
gosh.
he's like, he wraps up the bag of chips. He goes, I'm taking them. And he closes my door and he gets in the car and we leave. But it was just kind of crazy. It was just rock after rock after rock after rock. But it was like not anything that, you could explain. It was like you could hear the trajectory of the rocks. They were coming in, up out of the trees. They could hear nothing. And then they come back down. So you knew they were getting thrown. And I was like, and it's this one fishing area. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going back here. Well, he went back there last weekend. So it was the weekend. No. So they went there 2 nights after. So we went there on Saturday night, I believe.
I think it was.
Sunday night, I believe.
Was it?
And then they went back a couple nights later. And I asked him, I said, do you have anything weird happen? He goes, no. And the only thing different from when he was there than when I was there is the fact that we did an Ohio howl. And I'm like, I wonder if that made an impact on the type of experience we had. So,
right. And how does your Ohio howl go, if you could be so kind to demonstrate?
I mean, okay, so it starts low and slow and it goes up and then it kind of levels out and then it goes back down again.
Well, I mean, you kind of demonstrate it with your arm, but can you demonstrate it?
Stop. You want me to do a Ohio howl? I know what you're doing.
So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, okay, eDNA, like 11 opportunities for eDNA and stuff like that. Also, this popped in my mind. Was anybody on their menstrual cycle?
No, that I'm not aware of, because we did have my son's fiance with me, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing fun.
It was.
Oh my
it was
gosh.
So much fun, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm stoked!" So that's like, I want to really like make that area my new favorite area. So I plan on going back out there again.
Well, yeah, I would.
Things. Yeah.
With the freak. So how far was the car parked from where you guys were fishing?
Oh, the rock throws?
Yeah.
Right next to us, maybe like 3 foot away.
So from where your car was to where you guys were fishing.
Oh, it was about a 15-minute walk. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good ways down.
So it could have probably been about 100 yards or so. Up and down and through the hill and stuff. At the least, yeah.
Yeah, at the very least. Because, I mean,
okay.
Where we were at, it's not a very well-traversed area. I mean, you're like climbing over rocks and like lowering yourself down and stuff to get to where we were. And then on the way back up, you're having to put your stuff down and, hands and feet and knees and climb back up. I mean, it was a pretty good hike. It was fun. So it wasn't anything that was well-traversed.
Uh-huh.
That's not part of my sound effects.
That
was just the driveway alarm.
Okay. Somebody's in the driveway. That's so cool. And what time of the evening, of night? Was it morning? What kind of morning, night? What time?
So we started fishing at around, I don't know, maybe 7-ish. And then I finally did my Bigfoot howl, which nothing happened up until then. I did my Bigfoot howl probably right when it became dusk at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then about 45 minutes later is when we got the first rock throw. And then each rock throw was probably anywhere from 15 to maybe 18 minutes apart.
I would have had the phone on at least. Like just waiting for
okay, so the crazy part of it is I actually never intended on going night fishing. So we didn't have a lot of proper lighting, so we were using our cell phones to bait our hooks and stuff. Because my son told me when I was sitting in my car, oh, we're going night fishing, and it didn't even dawn on me to grab lighting. So we were using our cell phones for flashlights. So we were killing our batteries. I left my phone running for about 14 minutes and caught nothing. Turned it off. About 3 minutes later, we got another rock throw. So
the fish were high. Did you guys get any fish at all?
I did. I caught my first catfish ever in my entire life.
Yay! That's awesome. That's awesome. So you got Bigfoot and catfish. That sounds like a country song.
Bigfoot and catfish. I need a drum. I need like a banjo sound for this.
Oh, I know a guy in Arkansas that might be able to help us out with
that. That's all we got. I need a banjo. I'm going to get a banjo.
Oh, man. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's so cool.
It was a lot of fun.
I'm really kind of jelly. I mean, I had a rock throwing incident happen once. And my team member kept that rock, my ex-team member. But that was, wow, that's a lot of rocks.
It was multiples. And the crazy part about it was when my son's fiance asked for a bigger rock and she needed to hear where it came from, she got it. That was the weirdest part.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like she was like, I need a bigger rock. I need to hear that it comes from somewhere else. And she got it 2 different times. I was like, okay. That's why I looked at her. Is that good enough for you to leave now? Because I think we're in their fishing area.
You know, and that brings up a great topic. Another question that we could ask our guests tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, do you have anything else to cover before we announce our guest?
I don't know. I do not. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll announce our guest, Mr. Todd Neiss. Welcome to the show.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always
again. We meet again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, kind of a continuance of last week, because last week's conversation was absolutely awesome. I really enjoyed it. You brought a lot of great topics, but you had so much more to talk about.
Well, yeah, just a little over 33 years worth. It's kind of hard to fit it into to an hour or so, but yeah, there's plenty of topics we can touch on.
Yeah, so I think we ended last week. You kind of touched on, but not dove into the topic of infrasound, as Abe was talking about previous to the show starting. So you believe infrasound is what exactly?
Well, I believe infrasound is really a key to explain a lot of these anomalies that people are experiencing that tend to fit into the paranormal category. But by definition, infrasound is sound frequencies below human hearing. So humans can hear from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So when you're in that little go get a hearing test, you're in that little box with the headphones on and a little button there in your hand, and they want you to press it every time you hear it. They're going from 20 to 20,000 hertz. And below that, anything below 20 hertz, very few humans can actually hear it. But different animals, of course, can. And as we talked about last week, there's a number of animals that we now know utilize infrasound for various reasons, different reasons. So the interesting thing about it, the infrasound is it's the lower the frequency. So we're talking like going from just by way of example, high range sounds are higher frequency. So as we get lower down into say mid range and then bass and then sub bass and then below that, you feel that the lower the frequency, the more you actually feel it. So lower frequencies, especially as you get into the infrasound range, become more and more physical, if you will. And they can have a number of different effects on humans. And we're really just kind of learning that fairly recently because nobody really thought about hey, let's see let's try to monitor, record, analyze sound below human hearing. It wasn't practical. Are you going to buy a silent music? I mean, we could certainly do that. It's like buying tasteless food or invisible art. I mean, we could probably make that happen, but it doesn't have a commercial value to it. So nobody really paid attention to it until fairly recently, until they were able to actually design recording systems that really delved into that. And once they did, it's a whole new, really chapter in audiology, if you will. But yeah, so we talked about how we've learned so far that elephants, whales, tigers, alligators, crocodiles, and various other animals, now that they've been actually testing that we found that they can actually generate it. And again, for different reasons, because they all have different effects, which is why I think you need to think of it in terms of communication. For instance, when we talked last week about how elephants use it to call the herd together. Well, that's a message, is it not? When tigers use it to hunt with, they use it to install fear and confusion in the prey, the game that they're going after. Again, there's a message in that. And then alligators, like we talked about, alligators will use that infrasound as a mating call. So again, there's a message in there. Hey, baby, I'm over here. So in each case, there's a particular meaning. So it is communication in a form. And so I think we were kind of toying around with the idea of what people call mind speak. And, that one was a hard one for me to wrap my head around. But hey, if we can embed some form of communication like whales do to communicate to distant pods of whales, again, that is a message. There is a purpose to that. That's what language is about. There's an embedded purpose in it. So can they possibly get into our head? Can they do what the tigers do, for instance? Can they instill panic? Well, we hear about that all the time when we're talking about things like people being quote unquote zapped or what have you, and not being able to even move. I talked to a couple here not too long ago. He was a former police officer, and he and his wife were going on a trail that they've traveled on many, many times. And so they're very familiar with the area. And as they were going along on this trail for the umpteenth time, for some reason, they both just stopped. And there was no explanation for it other than they felt very, very uncomfortable, very uneasy in a place that they were very familiar with. But again, there was no real source that they could put their finger on. But the message that they got, it was essentially, there are going to be, if you continue to go in the direction you're going, there will be consequences. So in essence, telling them to turn around, and they didn't listen to that immediately. They kept going a little bit more in the direction they're going. And they both felt it again. He turned around and looked at his wife, and she couldn't even talk. She literally lost her voice. She was looking at him and trying to communicate, and was absolutely terrified, both of them. And at that point, they left. So I'm not talking about Bigfoot, quoting Shakespeare or anything, but some very basic subliminal thoughts, some subliminal warnings, or both good or bad for that matter. There were times where you might feel like you felt welcome. It can go either way depending on the situation.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm sorry, Ava. I don't mean
No,
to
go ahead.
interrupt you.
It's on the tip of your tongue.
I just think it's interesting how alligators use it for this, elephants use it for that, and there's a different meaning. Lions use it to terrify their prey and stun them. I think it's interesting how there's a variety of purposes for infrasound depending on species and intent. So I'm almost thinking that there's also different frequencies, whether it be higher or lower, that could create different effects. Maybe the higher, quicker frequencies that we're unable to hear with our own ears maybe create panic, anxiety. And then maybe the lower frequencies that we can't hear could create calm or even open up the feeling of getting an internal message. So, I mean, what are your thoughts as far as like the frequencies kind of leaning towards different purposes?
Well, I mean, we look at human speech and different inflections in our voices and different pitches and volume, and I think that's important too. But when we're communicating with each other, for instance, if we're angry, we might raise our voice. People talk about, oh, you raised your voice. And there's nothing saying that there isn't a whole different array of communication embedded in conversation. You're right. It could be different frequencies, have different meanings. For instance, I think it's important that we consider amplitude as well, volume, if you will. So, say you're walking in an area, and assuming Bigfoot has the ability to create infrasound, and as you can see, that a lot of them are very large mammals with very large lung capacity that can create this. So it's not completely unreasonable to think that they do. But let's say you're going in a direction and they don't want you there. Well, they can hit you at, say volume 1, if you will. And if you don't heed that warning and continue in that direction, they can turn that up. And it may be the same frequency, right? Not that they don't use different frequencies or sub-frequencies like we're talking about for different things, but in that particular frequency, let's say 15 hertz, that particular frequency is what, let's just, for instance, say that's a frequency that can cause you some anxiety. If you do not heed that warning and keep going, crank it up to volume 3, and now all of a sudden you have this panic attack, this paranoia for no reason that you can think of. You didn't see anything, you didn't hear anything, but you're feeling a certain way. And if you continue that direction, take it up to volume 5 or what have you, and put somebody in a state of abject paralysis. And I've had that happen to me. I think we touched upon it back in 1998 when I was with Peter Vernon and Ron Moorhead at the base of Saddle Mountain in the Oregon Coast Range, where I got hit with something that paralyzed me pretty much for about 2 full minutes, 2 very long minutes. So yeah, and I one of the things I was going to compare that to is an experience I had on the Omaha Reservation in 2021, where, and this was not subsonic, if you will, it was not below my hearing threshold, so it wasn't ultrasound, but it was communication in a way. The very first night we went out into the field, and I say night because we didn't go out until midnight, and this would have been a Monday night in late October. We just so for those of in your audience that hadn't heard about this, I had been communicating with this Native American tribe for some time, a couple of individuals in particular who talked about how they could call them in. And of course, I didn't really put a lot of credence in that, but they did. They would yell out in their native language, and we would have a couple of these individuals in the pitch of black of night, mind you, appear. And when I say appear, I mean in the form of what some people call eye shine. We could see a set of eyes looking at us, sometimes two sets of eyes, and a couple of times three individuals. But on that first night, that Monday night, well, it might have been Tuesday morning. I could have been, 12:30, 1 o'clock. I hear coming from quite some distance, but in the same direction that we're observing these individuals, what I can only describe as a song. And I know that sounds weird because I'd never heard anything like it. And I've listened to a number of purported Bigfoot vocalizations. By a song, I'm talking just a tune that went on for maybe 5 or 6 seconds, maybe 7 seconds. But within that, say, 5 to 7 seconds, there were probably 6, maybe 8 different notes, okay, like a song. And it was very loud and very shrill to the point where I had pretty much assumed it was a female. And I listened to that coming from back in the darkness out of the woods. And I have to tell you, it wasn't frightening at all. In fact, it was really beautiful. It sounded welcoming, to be honest with you. And perhaps that was the intent. I don't know. But in the course of about a minute and a half, this individual would do this tune, if you will, 4 different times. Each time, and this is what's important, each time she, and I'll just throw it out there, she sang the exact same tune, note for note, pitch perfect, exactly like the 3 times before.
Interesting.
Now, to me, that's communication.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a random roar or a whoop or a howl or anything like a growl. This was like a song, a tune, and I was just blown away by it when I heard it. I wished I had a tape recorder.
Wow.
That was one of a number of very interesting things that took place on that trip. And if you'd like, I could go into a few other things. I don't think we had time to hit on, but so.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
That whole week was really a highlight in all of my years of research. We were there 5 nights in a row, 2 different locations on the reservation.
I was just going to,
yeah, go ahead.
We had a guest, and I forget who. They had a recording of this singing that I think you're describing it, and it almost sounded very angelic. It was very, it's hard to explain, but it was very, very beautiful.
Yeah, it was, and like I said, it sounded very. It was beautiful, and it was not frightening whatsoever. And I would go on to hear it on a separate occasion in broad daylight. I'll get to that in a minute, but that was just amazing. After we had gone to this site, and I actually drove, they told me which way to go and whatnot, and we went to it's a very remote site. Now, this is along the border of Iowa and Nebraska, which is separated by the Missouri River. So it is actually 99% of Nebraska's flat corn, soybeans, whatnot. But that river valley along between Iowa and Nebraska is very hilly and wooded, and that's where we were. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. I think it was Wednesday. We were meeting every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. And we would stay up between midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes, I think one night we stayed almost at 3. And consistently had interaction with these Bigfoot. But on this particular day, on a Wednesday, I knew I was going to meet with them probably around 8 or 9 o'clock that evening. I don't think they even know about this, so I hope they're not listening. But knowing where this was at and really wanting to see it in daylight, just for the sake of posterity, I wanted to make sure there was no other possible secondary source of light or anything that could possibly be confused as something else. And as it was, there was this very slow sloping hill that went up behind or in the direction we were looking. So there was no other light source whatsoever. But anyway, I had decided to go look at it in the daylight, and presuming that these things, if they're up at 1 or 2 in the morning, they're probably nocturnal, and so they got to sleep sometime. I thought, if I go up during the daylight, I want to go into the woods, up that hill, up to the point on this hill where I believe they were standing, or pretty much where they were hanging out when we did see them. And I thought, they got to sleep. And so I took a Tascam digital tape recorder with me, and I decided I'm going to go there without letting my Native American friends know, and I'm going to go hike up that hill and set up a microphone. Now, this digital tape recorder can tape up to 72 hours, so I figured I can turn it on. It's going to tape 3 days straight. So I get up there, and I'm standing about the area where I believe these things were hanging out, that we're coming to when we saw them. And I go to set this tape recorder up, and I hit the button. The red light comes on. I put a couple leaves over it in case the rain came. I wanted to protect the microphone a little bit. And no sooner did I stand back up from placing this tape recorder between the crotch of two trees that came together, off to my, say, 8 o'clock, here she goes again. Same individual, same song, same 5 to 7 second tune, note for note. And I'm like, oh, 2 things struck me. Oh, right, I think I got that on tape. And secondly, oh crap, they're still awake. And here I am 200 feet from my car, and they're letting me know that they know I'm there. I'm like, oops. So at that, I turn and start walking back toward my car, which again was about 200 feet down this hill I just come up. And about maybe 20 seconds after she had done that tune, I hear very loud. It sounded like 2 baseball bats being hit together, but that quickly, 6 of them within about literally like 5 seconds. It's something, and this isn't coming from the opposite direction. So instead of 8 o'clock, it's coming from my 2 o'clock. And so now I know they're on both sides of me, and this was just this thing. These knocks were like almost as loud as gunfire.
Wow.
And very, very rapid at that. And of course, I'm like, okay, got the message. I'm leaving. Sorry. But that was one of the things that happened that was pretty amazing. Sad to say, when I went back to retrieve the recorder, which I hadn't used in a while, thinking I've got this one singing on there, and then I got those tree knocks. There's no way I couldn't have picked that up. Well, stupid me forgot that to actually activate the recorder.
No.
Yeah, you hit a switch, and this red light comes on, and to me it was like, all right, it's recording. Now you have to hit it a second time, and then the red light blinks, and then it's recording.
Right,
So
yeah.
I lost all of that.
Oh my God, I've been there. I hate that feeling.
Oh, I was like, I can't believe I did that. But anyway, that's my mea culpa for the evening. But anyway, so we, another thing that happened that was pretty crazy was, I want to say, it might have been that night. I think it was Wednesday night. This Native American fellow I was with had been, he was a practicing Mormon.
A practicing what?
Mormon, Latter-day Saints.
Mormon. Okay.
Yeah, the Mormons had come through that area and converted a bunch of tribal people, and so he was very devout. We prayed at every meal. He was very religious kind of guy. So we're there one night. I think it was Wednesday night, and he says, we had a little bit of activity. It wasn't as active as it was the first two nights. And he goes, you know what, I'm going to try something, see if I can get them to be a little more apparent. I go, what's that? He goes, I've only done this a couple times, but he says, I'm going to pray with them.
Aww.
And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, sometimes they'll react to that. So at that, and keep in mind, this is right in the midst of COVID. I only bring that up because his prayer went something like this. He would yell out there, "Aho, Kage," which is hello, friends. He says, I'm going to speak with our Creator, and I'm going to pray for your health in these times, and for your happiness and safety. And so, if you would like to join me in prayer, Gigaho means come closer. And with that, he bowed his head, and I bowed my head, and he said a prayer that lasted about 3 minutes long, okay? So at about the 90-second mark, about a minute and a half into this prayer, at very close range, probably 50 feet, where they were normally about 150 feet away, off to I would say my 2 o'clock, right in the middle of his prayer, this one just goes, "Ooh,
Oh.
ooh."
Oh, that's
And
so cool.
And he just kept on praying, and I'm wanting to look up, but part of it says don't. And he did it like 4 times. This really loud whoop sound, considerably louder than what I was doing, but it was close. It was 50, 60 feet at the most away from us. And then he finished says amen. And then I'm like, rhetorically going, dude, was that them? And he goes, yeah, that's them. He goes, I think I know which one that is. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I think that's the one I call Michael Jackson. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He says, one time I saw him. It was just around dusk, not quite real dark. And he started going into this demonstration, if you will, this dance thing, where it was flailing its arms up and down and side to side and twisting its body and jumping up and down. And he says, he reminded me of Michael Jackson, so I've called him that ever since. He says, that's the one that comes the closest, usually.
That's so cool.
I can see her right now doing the Thriller dance.
Yeah, right, a little moonwalk. So that happened, which was amazing. That was amazing. And then, like I said, we had two different locations that we went to. This one main area we went to 4 out of the 5 nights, but on this one night, it's like Friday night, we go to an area that they had dubbed Hard Knocks. I assume because of knocking activity. I don't know, but he said, we're going to go to Hard Knocks. It's about 4.5 miles away from here. So we get in my rental car. They're showing me, okay, turn here. And then they told me to turn here. And I said, there's not a road there. And he goes, trust me, just turn into the field. So I'm taking this rental car like a Toyota Corolla through 4-foot high grass.
Oh my God.
It's like over the hood, and I'm like, am I going the right way? He's like, yeah, you're going, just keep going. And yeah, I'm thinking, I got to turn this thing in, I should have rented a Jeep, right? So,
no kidding.
So we finally break out onto this dirt road, like a logging road. And he told me to turn left, and I'm like, I'm just glad to get out of the weeds. And we're going down this road, and it's fairly straight. I remember off in the distance, I could see the lights of Sioux City, Iowa. I mean, way distant, but it was a clear night. And we were way up high on the ridge line. And
Sioux City,
anyway,
Iowa or South Dakota?
What's that?
Sioux
City, Iowa.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So finally, he says, all right, stop here. So before I shut off the lights, I can see probably 200 feet down the road, and this road is straight as an arrow. So I turn off the car. We, again, no lights. We're not allowed to have any lights, no flashlights, no cell phone light, anything. So we're sitting there, pitch black, dark. I can't even, you can't see your hand in front of your face. And he says, oh, there's one right over there. And I look down at the road, and it looks like it's right in line with the road. I don't know. Did I mention this last week? I don't want to repeat myself.
I don't think you did.
So.
Okay. So anyway, I'm looking at it looks like two very bright eyes, and they look to be about 150 feet down the road from us. And I'm like, wow, they called it in again, this kage thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, there's one over there at 3:00. It's trying to come around behind us. And I saw that one, just the eyes again. But I'm fixated on this one down the road, and it's Friday. I got to catch a plane back home the next day. And I'm thinking, if I lived here, there's no, I couldn't believe that we'd ever walk away from an active, encounter, but we were doing this every night. The previous 4 nights, we walked away while they were still there, and I'm like kicking myself, going, but they're still there. No, we'll come back tomorrow. You'll see. So I'm thinking if I had to do it all over again, I would have brought a sleeping bag and a cot and just stayed there till sunrise and just watched this. I mean, it was just such an amazing thing.
Wow.
So now I'm thinking I gotta get on a plane the next day, and I'm saying to myself, I gotta kick this up a notch. This is like wash, rinse, repeat, and we're going out and you're calling them, they show up and we watch them and then we leave. And so I say to my native friend, I go, you've been doing this, as far as I know, at least for 3 years, right? I mean, you've been establishing this relationship. And he goes, yeah. I said, well, if they ever wanted to hurt you, I mean, they would have done it by now. He goes, no, they won't hurt us. They're very peaceful. They're just curious like we are of them. And I said, so have you ever thought of just, I don't know, walking up to one? And he said, "No, hell no." To which I replied, "Hold my beer." He said,
Of
"What?"
course.
He said, "What?" And I go, "Stay here. Do not follow me. Do not turn on any lights. Uh, I'll be back. I hope." So I start walking toward this set of eyes 150 feet away. And initially, I knew it was on the, so I can't even see the road, really. I can barely see my feet, but I'm just walking fixated on making a beeline toward these two, points of light. And I'm now get down, I'm like about 100 feet away, and I keep going. I'm thinking, one of us is going to, I'm playing chicken with a Bigfoot. What the hell? So,
Oh yeah.
so
Like
then I get
game.
down, I get to 50 feet away, and it's not moving. And then I'm 40 feet away, and it's not moving. And now I'm slowing way down. And I got, I would estimate about 30 feet from it. And I had a conversation with the late Dr. Henry Fehrenbach, who was a primatologist and worked with apes, gorillas, monkeys, and whatnot, different primates. And then we had talked one time about what to do in a case like that, and he said, well, when we encountered gorillas in Africa and we knew they were in the area, we would just kind of ignore them. Just act like you're not interested. Don't engage. Do not stare directly at them. Keep them in your peripheral vision, but just act like no big deal. And in many of those cases, these things would actually come right up to them and tug on their clothing and stuff because they found it interesting. So he said, I said, what would I do if I got within say 20, 30 feet of a Bigfoot? He said, well, I would sit down. I would not look directly at it. I would take a stick and just kind of like draw something in the dirt and just keep it in your peripheral vision. Do not open your mouth. That's a threat gesture, but just act like you could care less that they're there.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
go ahead. Yeah. I want to ask you something when you're done with this story.
Yeah, so anyway, so I'm at 30 feet. It's not moving. I'm thinking, I'm going to cop a squat right here in the dark on this road and let it make the next move. And see what happens, So, but it's like, I was scared crazy, I'll tell you. But before I could sit down, this thing stood up. And by that, I mean, it went from kind of like my level to, I just watched these eyes raise up about 10 feet off the ground. And I'm just like looking at it going, holy. And there was like 2 or 3 seconds where we just stood there looking at each other. And then it finally just turned to its left, my right, and walked off into the darkness. And oddly, it didn't make a sound. It was really bizarre. I thought I'd hear it, something that large walking off, but it was very quiet. And I stood there for probably a good 20 seconds just to make sure it wasn't coming back. And once I was convinced it wasn't, I go, okay, I'm going to get out of here. So I turn around now. Of course, I have no point of direction, no light at all. The lights are off back where the car and the rest of the group's at, and I'm like, I think I turned 180 degrees, and I just started walking back. And every once in a while, I'd step off the road and get back on the road, and then I'd step off the other side. And I finally got about 75 feet away or so, about halfway back, and I just finally yelled, "Where the hell are you guys?" And I said, "Turn on a light. I can't see where I'm going." And then, so somebody turned on their phone or something, or showed their phone, and I got back there, and And he still talks about that crazy white man that went walking up on a Bigfoot. It was quite an experience that I obviously will never forget. But I just had to do. I knew I'm going to be. They treated this like it was like an everyday thing, and to them it really was. So for me, it was an amazing experience, night after night, 2 different locations. That song, the reaction to the prayer. Sometimes when we left, you could literally, we'd be driving back toward the main village, and you could see them following us through the woods.
Interesting.
Wow.
It was, yeah, you just see their eyes kind of, and they kept up with us pretty good speed too.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, so I'm sorry, you had a question or thought?
Well, okay, so you said something about him telling you to draw something with a stick in the dirt. Him being the Native American that
No.
kind of
Dr. Fehrenbach.
Okay. So I'm wondering his purpose of that, because is it just to be a mental distraction for you? Is it to draw curiosity from the Sasquatch? Because I'm not sure if you're familiar with my experience that ended up on TV. But that was one of the things I did was I picked up a stick and was drawing in the dirt before everything kind of chaotic started to happen. So why would he tell you to do something like that? It
was just a means of showing that basically disinterest, that that you were comfortable with them being there, and that as opposed to everything in your body telling you to do something the opposite, to freak out, this was. He said, "You just act about nonchalant as you can, and that may cause them to come closer, or at least that was his experience in Africa."
Well, I mean, I tell you, in my experience, me having the act of drawing in the dirt with a stick actually did draw them in closer. So, I guess it does work. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, those were a few of the interesting. I mean, to say interesting is an understatement, but some of the occurrences, the song, the prayer, the walking up on one, the whole thing was just an amazing adventure, and really, like I say, a highlight of my 33 years of research.
In your 33 years, bro, and what a feat that is in itself. Kudos to you. Have you, when we were talking in the show, do you think that they can understand our language?
Do I think they understand our language? That's kind of, I mean, I come over here to Arkansas. I can't understand these people, but so I mean, what I say, there's different languages, there's different dialects. To suggest that they understand English would be to suggest they would understand somebody speaking in French or Spanish or Chinese. But everything is relative to where you're at. So I imagine in their observations of us, and they again, they're very curious of us, and as much as they're, I think, taught from birth to avoid human contact, sometimes their curiosity gets the best of them. And I think, obviously, if you stick around long enough and you observe humans doing certain things and making certain sounds in the form of words or phrases that probably may relate to what they're actually doing, you might over time pick up on it, just depending on how much exposure they've had to the humans. But again, there's just different, volume and inflection and things like that. Scott Nelson would be the one to really talk to about that. He is an expert in cryptolinguists, and he looks for patterns. He can listen to a foreign language he's never heard before, and given enough time and exposure to not only let the language that he doesn't know, but observing what's going on in conjunction with the language, he can decipher a language and actually learn it. So I don't see why this species is not stupid by any means.
Right.
They're quite intelligent. I don't believe they could speak English, but they may mimic us from time to time. Who knows?
Right. The reason I ask that is because with the incident that Gwendolyn had night fishing, and her son's fiance saying, "I'm going to need a bigger rock," and
then it happened.
Right. Well, yeah. And so I was on an expedition in Iowa at a place of habituation, and it was in 2009 or 2010. I know I was down there for sure in 2009. Actually, it was one of those. I was down there both years, to be honest with you. And this, she says that she could feel which direction they were at because she would feel a coolness, or that part of her body would get goosebumps. And so she goes, "Okay, they're over there." She's rubbing one of her arms. She goes, "They're over there." I said, "Okay, you think they're over there, right?" So I'm like, oh, "Okay, we'll see. We'll see what's really going on." I says, "If you can hear me and if you can understand me, can you please give me 2 wood knocks?" I crap you not. 2 wood knocks came out of that direction. I was like, what the heck? First time that's ever happened. And since then, I like to ask other colleagues if they've ever tried talking with them and got something that they asked for, or something that they could do and it was done. Now,
well, that's interesting.
Yeah, with your friends on the res, have they ever asked for something and then received it?
Well, I can say, for instance, like, not only were they speaking to them in their native Omaha tongue, which they seem to understand, at least the aho, meaning hello, and
Hello, yeah.
and kage, meaning friends, and gigaho, meaning come closer. Maybe in a very rudimentary form, they do understand some very old language. You look back to the Native Americans that we've now traced back to, like, I think it's as Homo sapien Native Americans, they've traced them back to like 23,000 years now, I believe, as being here in North America, and how they dealt with. I think we talked about last week how they talked to them not as an animal but as another tribe. They called them the first ones, or the old ones, right?
Yes.
And I've been told by Native Americans that they would potlatch, meaning get together formal meetings with these things annually. That there would be a formal gathering of the Native Americans and this, well, probably what is the ultimate Native American, the Bigfoot. And they would share things. They would share a lot between each other. And so there seemed to have been some form of communication in that respect, because I do remember one telling me that during the last potlatch, which was in the 1800s, I believe, that the Sasquatch, or at least the representative of them, had told them that this would be their last potlatch, that they could no longer afford to be exposed to this new wave of white man that has come into their area. So they would have to have been able to at least understand that. So
yeah. Interesting.
That's very interesting, though.
That is so mind blowing to me. So they would have get togethers with these Sasquatch where they would communicate and talk.
That's what they told me. And
Wow.
share. They would share different things with each other as far as physically share food, share tools. Um,
Trade.
yeah.
So
So
according to them, this last potlatch was 1800s. You said? Did I
yeah.
mishear?
So as and during the Western expansion, as we came across the plains and don't kid yourself, they observed really the consequence of dealing with these more modern humans, if you will, as their original uh, version of humans, the Native Americans, uh, started going away. And a lot of it due to warfare, a lot of it, much of it due to exposure to disease.
Yeah.
And that may be one of the reasons that they stay away from us, just for that reasons. Who knows what sort of an immune system this species has, and they may be aware that, at least from observation of Native Americans coming into contact with us and what happened to them, that they didn't want that to happen to their species. That would be a disaster, a pandemic, really.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's so.
Wow.
That kind of really answers my question in a sense. They might not understand English, white man tongue, but they understand some native tongue, some from different clans.
Or even sign language. We talk about hearing them do tree knocks and things like that. That's a form of communication as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what Native American tribe did you say that was telling you all these experiences and history?
So this was the Omaha tribe. Um, if you had asked me before to name a couple of states where I did not believe that I would encounter these creatures, I think Omaha would have been right up there. Just because of my ignorance really about the layout, the geography of the state. I tend to have just thought it to be all flat and whatnot. And
Yeah.
but it's like I guess I thought that pretty much about Arkansas too, and then I discovered the Ozark Mountains. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so did you ever get to talk to them about the phenomena of like the fairy lights, their beliefs on what that could possibly be? And is in their viewpoint, is it connected to Sasquatch at all? I mean,
well,
I know.
what do you mean by fairy light? Are we talking
So
orbs? Are we talking
a lot of
eye
times they
shine?
consider it like an ancestral presence. Some of them call it the Nunhani. It's like a Cherokee folklore that describes immortal human-like spirits, moon-eyed people. Different tribes consider different things, but it's basically these floating lights in the woods that are bioluminescent and kind of free-floating.
Minahuni?
Sounds like fireflies to me.
No, it's not.
It's not the
It goes by
Minahuni.
multiple names. It's Ignis Fatuus. It's fairy lights. It's where the jack-o'-lantern came from. There's even some tales of it in like Australia. I mean, it's all over the world of these floating lights in the forests or in the plains.
Huh.
Well, I haven't heard it quite described that way, but in a sense, this you could almost tie this back into the infrasound. So one of the things I looked into was this. So many people talking about the seeing balls of colored light, if you will, floating through the woods. And maybe we're talking about the same thing, and they would call them orbs. And that was one of the things I pulled out of the paranormal supernatural file and thought, okay, let's see if we can figure out if this anomaly can be explained scientifically. And and you could do this, like anybody in the sound of my voice, you can just click on your phone and say, can infrasound cause visual lights to appear? And you will get that information. This information's been out there a long time. Nobody's really kind of connected all the dots and applied it to these creatures. But when people say, hey, I'm seeing these crazy colored lights when we believe we're in the presence of these things, infrasound can cause that. And I'll give you an example that I found in my research was that there was because we mentioned that infrasound happens in nature, not only just from animals, but things like earthquakes can create infrasound. Thunder and lightning create infrasound, things like that. But man can also create it. I think we discussed how the rocket engines made it hard for the astronauts to focus on gauges. So if you just do the research and Google it, can infrasound cause colored lights to appear? And in this, what's that?
I got it right here. Yes, infrasound around 18 to 19 hertz can cause visual distortions or shadowy figures to appear in your peripheral vision. This happens because human eyeballs has a resonant frequency close to 18 hertz. When struck by these inaudible sound waves, the eyeball vibrates slightly, creating mild optical illusions or shimmering effects.
So in this one particular case, there was a factory that had been around for some time, and as factories, as they go along, they are always upgrading new equipment and whatnot, keeping up with technology and efficiency. And in this one example that I read about, they had brought in this, during a shutdown, they brought in this new piece of equipment and installed it. And then when people came back to work, almost immediately people were complaining about seeing ghost-like shadows in their peripheral vision. Some talked about seeing colored lights in their peripheral vision. And they brought in some experts that brought in equipment that could measure infrasound, and lo and behold, they traced it back to this machine. And the minute they switched this machine off, all of that stopped. So if this species can generate infrasound, we've already shown that many large mammals can, it can affect your vision, and it can possibly create distortion like what you just read about. See, it's just a matter of doing the homework, going down that rabbit hole and asking the right questions.
It's interesting. I've never heard the fairy lights phenomena connected to infrasound before. So
well, think about that. If they're out there generating infrasound, again, you can't hear it, but it's vibrating your eyeball at, say, 18, 19 hertz, and the eye generally functions at 19 hertz. It's almost, if you've ever been outside and you take your fingers, you close your eyelid and press on your fingers, you can almost, as you move it around your eyeball, you can kind of see what seems to be dark light, if you will, right? Because you're distorting the shape of the eyeball a little bit by putting some pressure on it. Well, infrasound does the same thing. It's distorting the shape of your eyeball. It's causing a ripple effect in the aqueous humor, the liquid inside the eye. And it will cause some distortion. And so if they're out there and it's dark enough and they're doing this, there's no reason to believe that they cannot generate. It's not light that's really there, by the way. It's just the effect it's having on your vision that makes it appear that there's light there.
You know, and with this whole infrasound topic, it made me. I had a question. Like, okay, from what we know of known great apes, can they produce infrasound? And in your talking, I looked that up. I googled that, and it says yes. Gorillas can produce very deep, low-frequency sounds that reach the edge of or dip into infrasonic frequencies. Research indicates that mountain gorillas and other species produce low growls and chest beats or hums with subharmonic frequencies extending as low as 30 hertz and occasionally lower, sitting right on or below the threshold of human hearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, and that's just a matter of doing the research. And that's, when I was looking at things, what can infrasound cause? Can it explain orbs, colored lights at night? Can it explain whether can it possibly be the answer to why some people say that Bigfoot can disappear and appear willingly at random, and some will say, "Oh, they're going through a portal, or they're going, slipping into a different dimension," or and again, my good friend Ron Moorhead would tell you that they are changing their frequencies,
yeah.
Basically, but in his quantum theory, if you will, he's assigning what we're seeing and not seeing to the location of the actual animal, and that's where he and I differ, because I believe, yes, the frequency is very much involved, but it's not happening on their end, it's what's happening on your end, what they're causing to your eyesight or to your hearing or to your visual acuity. And and it may really extend to why, and you might think it's funny, but everybody says, why can't we ever get a clear picture of Bigfoot? Again, one of the things that got me started on this train of thought was one day I'm driving down the road in my truck, and a song came on that I really liked, and I was all by myself, and it had a lot of bass to it, and I've got a really nice stereo in there, so I cranked it up very high volume, and I had to change lanes, and I go look in my side rear view mirror, and I cannot make out really the road behind me as I'm looking at my mirror, because it is vibrating to the frequency of those super bass notes coming from my amplifier and my subwoofer. And interestingly, as I turned the volume down, all of a sudden that my vision became very clear, and I could see whether that lane was clear enough for me to change lanes safely. And I thought, that's what got me thinking, if infrasound and this bass I can hear and feel, what if there was bass below that you may feel but you can't hear? And you're talking about a mirror that's a piece of glass that's coated, so it's a hard object, is vibrating at a certain frequency that you cannot use it to see clearly until you turn that bass down. If you could do that to a regular rear view mirror on my truck, you can certainly do that to the lens of a camera. Am I right? Mm-hmm. And especially newer cameras that have the anti-shake function, if you notice that where the lens is literally kind of floating freely in the cameras. So if you are moving or walking or running, it tries to steady that picture. So that even then would be even more susceptible, I imagine. But it could go a long ways to explain why people have a hard time getting clear photographs of these things, if they are, in fact, at the time they take the picture, generating this infrasound. It could cause vibration on the lens of the camera. Again, it's a theory.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because infrasound has been a theory of Bigfoot experiences for a while now. It's just been kind of an idea that's been popping around here and there. But I had proposed the idea that this infrasound could play an impact on electronic equipment, especially film, if they're able to impact it through some sort of infrasound. Um, and then that also brings the question, is there a possibility that Sasquatch is able to emit some sort of EMF? Because stingrays and some aquatic creatures are known to emit some electromagnetic fields as well. So is EMF also possibly a factor?
Well, I have always tried to base any theory I have. If somebody says flames out its butt, then show me another animal that can do that, and then we've got a place to start with. Now, in the case of EMP, like what you're referring to, show me an animal that can do that. We just like go, well, yeah, electric eels, or some. But can you tell me of a mammal, a known mammal that can create EMF?
Not offhand, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'd have to do some deep dive research, but I mean, I know that stingrays, electric eels, they are able to emit those sort of frequencies. But I mean, that's why I ask you, is that a possibility? So your comparison is if some other land mammal is able to do that, then that might be something to consider.
Well, I would encourage anybody that wants to follow that train of thought is to get on your computer, do the research, and see if there is an example. You've got to step it up to. I mean, there's a lot of animals, and animals go everything from single cell amoebas to humans. That there's a lot of animals that can do certain things, but we have to up our game and bring it up to at least the level of a mammal, a vertebrate, hopefully a primate, can do or create that sort of effect before you can really kind of pin it to Sasquatch. And in the case of my research, lightning and thunder out here.
Yeah, I can tell you're kind of glitching it out, but I think that your point is valid. I think that being able to connect it to some sort of land mammal would be more viable of a potential for that sort of situation. What were you going to say, Abe?
I was going to say, I Googled just that. I said what creatures can create electromagnetic fields, and electric eels, black ghost knifefish, electric rays, or torpedo rays. Creatures that sense EMFs or field megaabsorptions and electric receptions are shark rays, platypuses, and enchiladas, migratory birds, and pigeons. Really nothing primate-wise.
Interesting.
Right, and we know that we do know that birds will detect electromagnetism from the Earth.
Migrate.
That's how they migrate, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting idea, but it's just something I've kind of pondered on.
Well, anyway, just like
there.
when I had my eyes open, no pun intended, to this whole eye shine thing and was able to finally figure that out, that's when I decided to look into some of these other anomalies that I had also put in that category of.
It thundered again.
Yeah, I think we're losing him periodically. He's got some.
It's still there, and so
yeah, there you are. Sorry, we lost.
I've been able just through infrasound to be able to associate it with invisibility or stealth, at least in so much as how it affects your eyes. Blurry photos, perhaps, the feeling of being zapped.
Storm's moving in, getting closer.
Being zapped.
Yeah.
I have to have him pick up on
get the paddles.
Where being zapped was. Okay, so aside from this, because he's kind of glitching in and out, I'm reading now that there is some limitations on land for EMF being created naturally on land due to a low frequency dissipation rapidly. So I guess it does dissipate rapidly in the air compared to water, making it electrical signaling on land less effective than in water. So that might be why this has maybe adapted out of land animals versus aquatic animals.
Here he comes.
Ah,
There he is.
Nope. Oh, you gotta add him to stage. There we go. And
Welcome
Okay.
back, buddy.
All right. Well, as I was saying, I have that Starlink system, and it's supposed to not be affected by this, but yeah, we do have a storm going pretty good here.
We left off. We left off on getting zapped, and then you got zapped.
True.
Like you are just now.
That's wild.
This is a perfect opportunity
to
draw Captain Morgan on.
Definitely affected by electrical storms. So, I mean, anything that covers the atmosphere. Hey,
there
we are.
We are.
Okay, I'll try to. We might have to wrap this up here, but I'll try to keep it short. They've been able to kind of go back in history and associate infrasound and how it affects humans by talking about things like what we call PTSD today. It used to be called combat fatigue, and before that, it was called shell shock back in World War I. And it was strange is that explosions themselves can cause infrasound, and people were getting wiped out, not even being miles from an explosion, but the infrasound that traveled through the ground would cause them to react very uncharacteristically, we should say.
Interesting.
Infrasound can affect how you feel.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of could be applied to this idea of being zapped. But I mean, things like invisibility, blurry photos, being zapped, orbs, even mind speak to some degree can be attributed to infrasound. And I don't think that is a very good key to considered paranormal or the woo in the past. So
yeah,
right. And hats off to you for diving in and doing proper research and looking at these attributes surrounding infrasound and the effects that it has, not just on the human body, but also on the eyes and how it can shift your eyes into lights. I mean, nobody's done that, and here you are doing it, bro. So, again,
I love it.
Kudos.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, I absolutely appreciate that because there's so many unanswered questions when it comes to some of this sort of phenomena. Very valid experiences and witnesses that are coming forward talking about some of these more strange aspects that has to do with, like you said, mind speak, these lights, this camera phenomena where you lose information or you have these blurry photos. Maybe it could all be
I can see you.
Yeah, attributed
I keep losing you. I think maybe I need to jump off here and see what's going on outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be careful.
Thanks for
Todd.
coming on, brother.
Yeah, we appreciate coming on and we wish you the best. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you soon.
Yes, right.
We lost him again.
All right, guys. You take care.
All right, take care, Todd. I'll message you. All right, so we'll go ahead and take him off here. But just a quick recap. He's just an amazing, awesome person. I love his process of looking into some of the more strange phenomena that has to do with Bigfoot and trying to find a way to connect that to some sort of scientific reasoning. I think that's exactly what we need in this research field because, we have too many experiences that have these weird sort of attributes attached to it. that I think are explainables by science. And I always said that science is the explanation. We just don't have the answers for it yet.
Right.
So
I
I
agree.
appreciate his process of looking into some of this unique phenomena.
Right.
And he's just a wonderful guest, and I'm glad that he's been able to come on the past couple weeks.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. But in the meantime, conference, yours is coming up August. Tell me
3rd.
again.
August 3rd, yes.
August 3rd. So
it's going to be smashing, and yours is like 2 weeks away.
Mine is just very, very soon, maybe like 2 weeks, 10 days away ish.
Maybe.
So I think it's like 10 days away. But you can jump on and grab your tickets. Let me see if I can fix the background there. Yeah, there we go. The chair is in the way. So just jump onto my Facebook page, The Fold Mysteries. The link is posted, pinned at the top. And you can either click the QR code, click the link, grab your tickets. If you aren't sure and you want to just show up, you can grab tickets at the door. It is expected to be a really fun event. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. I'm sending out emails reminding everybody right now. We got our t-shirts in. We got our merch in. We got everybody lined up. We got our speaker lineup all set and ready to go. So I'm excited.
Yay, I'm excited for you.
Yay! And then I will see you at your conference coming up October 3rd.
Yes, you will. That's going to be
No, I'm losing Abe.
No, don't lose me. No, I was just saying, yeah, it's going to be a great time.
It's going to be awesome. So I hope to see you at the Irons Michigan Bigfoot Conference or at the Michigan or Minnesota Bigfoot Conference.
Where we all talk like this, don't you know, huh?
All right.
That's great.
See everybody. Bye.
Squatch on.